Welcome, English learners, to Unlock Your English. Today, we're diving into a topic that might just be the most impactful, yet often overlooked. Secret weapon in your language learning arsenal, metacognition. You've been working hard on your vocabulary, grammar, listening, and speaking. But have you ever stopped to think about how you're actually learning? Have you ever questioned why some methods work better for you than others? Or why you struggle with certain aspects despite consistent effort? If you have, even briefly, you've touched upon the essence of metacognition. Put simply, metacognition is thinking about thinking. It's the ability to monitor, regulate, and assess your own learning processes. For English learners, this isn't just a fascinating psychological concept. It's the master key that can unlock genuine native-like fluency. Why? Because mastering English isn't just about accumulating facts. It's about developing complex skills and effective. Skill development demands self-awareness, strategic planning, and continuous self-correction. Imagine a highly skilled athlete. They don't just train, they analyze their performance, understand their weaknesses, adjust their strategy, and reflect on what makes them succeed or fail. This deep level of self-awareness and self-regulation is metacognition in action. Similarly, an English learner who masters metacognitive skills moves beyond passively consuming information to actively directing their own learning journey. They become their own best teacher, capable of identifying their own learning styles, pinpointing areas for improvement, selecting the most effective strategies, and monitoring their progress with precision. This article will embark on a comprehensive exploration of metacognition. We'll delve into its historical roots, dissect its key components, and reveal its profound impact on language acquisition. Most importantly, we'll provide you with concrete, actionable strategies to cultivate your metacognitive abilities, allowing you to learn English not just more, but smarter and more effectively, paving the way for truly native-like fluency. Get ready to unlock the full power of your own mind. Historical development and evolution from ancient philosophy to modern learning science. The concept of thinking about thinking isn't a modern invention. Its roots can be traced back to ancient philosophical inquiries, though the formal term metacognition itself is relatively new. Within the field of psychology and education, understanding this evolution helps us appreciate the depth and breadth of the concept. Ancient roots, Socrates, and self-knowledge. Long before the word metacognition existed, ancient philosophers grappled with the idea of self-awareness and the understanding of one's own thought processes. Socrates, c. 399 BC, the renowned Greek philosopher, famously championed the maxim, "Know thyself." His Socratic method, which involves asking probing questions to stimulate critical thinking and self-reflection, is arguably one of the earliest forms of metacognitive practice. By constantly questioning assumptions and beliefs, Socrates encouraged individuals to examine their own understanding and the limits of their knowledge, a fundamental metacognitive act. Similarly, other ancient traditions, both Eastern and Western, emphasized introspection, mindfulness, and the contemplation of one's mental states. These practices, while often spiritual or philosophical in nature, laid the groundwork for recognizing the importance of an internal dialogue about one's cognitive processes. Early psychological foundations, Piaget and Vygotsky. The 20th century saw the emergence of psychology as a scientific discipline, and with it, a more systematic study of cognitive development. While not explicitly using the term metacognition, the foundational work of developmental psychologists like Jean Piaget, 1896-1980, and Lev Vygotsky, 1896-1934, contributed significantly to its conceptual underpinnings. Piaget's theories on cognitive development highlighted how children construct their understanding of the world through active engagement and reflection on their experiences. His concept of equilibration, where individuals adjust their mental schemas when faced with new information that contradicts their existing understanding, is an implicit metacognitive process of monitoring and regulating knowledge. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, particularly his concept of the zone of proximal development, ZPD, emphasized the role of social interaction in cognitive development. Learners, with the help of more knowledgeable others, can perform tasks they couldn't do alone. Crucially, As they internalize these interactions and problem-solving strategies, they develop self-regulation and self-monitoring abilities, key components of metacognition. The internal monologue, often a result of external social speech, becomes a tool for thinking about one's own thinking. The birth of the term, John Flavel and modern cognitive psychology. The formal introduction of the term, metacognition, is widely attributed to American developmental psychologist John H. Flavel in the 1970s. Flavel initially defined metacognition as knowledge about cognition and regulation of cognition. His work, and that of his colleagues, was pivotal in bringing this concept into the mainstream of cognitive psychology and education. Flavel's research distinguished between two main components of metacognition: metacognitive knowledge. This refers to what individuals know about their own cognition and the cognition of others. It includes person variables, knowledge about oneself as a learner, e.g., I learn best by listening. I get distracted easily. Task variables, knowledge about the nature of the learning task, e.g., this grammar rule is complex and requires more effort. Strategy variables, knowledge about different learning strategies and when to use them, e.g., rereading isn't effective for me. I need to summarize. Metacognitive regulation. This refers to the active monitoring and self-regulation of one's cognitive processes during learning. It involves planning, setting goals, selecting strategies, and allocating resources before learning. Monitoring, checking comprehension, tracking progress, and detecting errors during learning. Evaluation. Assessing the outcome of learning and the effectiveness of the strategies used after learning. Expansion and application, from education to language learning. Following Flavel's groundbreaking work, research into metacognition exploded across various fields, particularly in education. Educators realized that teaching students how to learn was as important, if not more important, than simply teaching them content. The focus shifted from rote memorization to fostering critical thinking, problem-solving, and self-directed learning. In the realm of second language acquisition, SLA, the application of metacognition became increasingly prominent from the 1990s onwards. Researchers began to investigate how metacognitive strategies impact language proficiency. Studies showed that successful language learners often exhibited strong metacognitive skills, implicitly or explicitly. They were better at identifying their own learning needs, selecting appropriate strategies for vocabulary or grammar acquisition, monitoring their comprehension during listening or reading, and evaluating their speaking performance. Today, metacognition is recognized as a cornerstone of effective learning across all domains, including language. It is no longer seen as a separate skill, but rather as an integrated component of successful learning behavior, emphasizing self-awareness, self-direction, and strategic engagement with the learning process. Its evolution from ancient philosophical wisdom to a formalized concept in cognitive science underscores its enduring relevance for anyone seeking to master a complex skill like a new language. Key aspects in current state. The pillars of metacognitive. Mastery for English learners. Metacognition, at its core, involves a dynamic interplay of knowledge and regulation. For English learners, understanding these key aspects and how they manifest in language acquisition is crucial. Let's break down the current understanding and explore specific examples relevant to your journey. 1. Metacognitive knowledge. Knowing about your own English learning. This is the what you know about your learning. It's the declarative knowledge about yourself as an English learner, the tasks involved, and the strategies available. A. Person knowledge. About yourself as an English learner. This involves understanding your own strengths, weaknesses, preferences, and typical reactions to language learning. Example 1. Strength. I realize I'm good at picking up new vocabulary from context when reading, but I struggle to remember words when I just see a list. Self-awareness of a preferred learning channel for vocabulary. Example 2. Weakness. I know I often get nervous and freeze up when speaking spontaneously, even if I know the grammar. Awareness of a performance anxiety that impacts fluency. Example 3. Preference. I've noticed I learn best early in the morning when my mind is fresh, rather than late at night. Understanding your optimal learning time. Example 4. Typical reaction. When I encounter a new grammar rule, I tend to get overwhelmed if I don't see immediate examples. Awareness of cognitive load and the need for scaffolding. B. Task knowledge about English learning demands. This is understanding the nature of different English learning tasks and what they require. Example 1. Listening. I know that understanding a native speaker in a fast-paced conversation requires not just word recognition, but also inferring meaning from tone and context. And I shouldn't expect to catch every single word. Understanding the complex demands of authentic listening. Example 2. Grammar. I understand that the English article system, a and the, isn't just about simple rules. It has many exceptions and requires a lot of exposure and intuition to master. Appreciating the complexity of specific grammar points. Example 3. Writing. I know that academic writing in English requires specific organizational patterns and formal vocabulary, different from casual email writing. Understanding register and genre requirements. Example 4. Reading. I know that I don't need to understand every word in a text to grasp the main idea. Sometimes skimming for keywords is enough. Awareness of different reading strategies for different purposes. C. Strategy knowledge about effective English learning strategies. This is knowing various learning strategies and when and why to use them. Example 1. Vocabulary. I know that using spaced repetition software like Anki is more effective for long-term vocabulary retention than simply rereading lists. Knowledge of an effective retention strategy. Example 2. Speaking. I know that recording myself speaking and then listening back helps me identify my pronunciation errors and awkward phrasing. Knowledge of a self-assessment strategy. Example 3. Grammar. I know that creating my own example sentences using a new grammar structure is better for internalizing it than just doing textbook exercises. Knowledge of an active learning strategy. Example 4. Overcoming plateaus. I know that when I feel stuck, switching to a different type of activity, e.g., from reading to listening, or focusing on a different skill, can reignite my motivation. Knowledge of motivational and variety strategies. 2. Metacognitive regulation, monitoring and directing your English learning. This is the how you do it, the active control you exert over your learning processes during a task. It's a cyclical process involving planning, monitoring, and evaluating. A. Planning before a learning task, setting goals, choosing strategies, and preparing for the task. Example 1. Pre-listening. Before watching this English news report, I'll first read the headlines and look up any unfamiliar names or places to activate my background knowledge and make comprehension easier. Pre-task planning for listening comprehension. Example 2. Study session. Today, I will focus specifically on verbs, followed by gerunds or infinitives, for 30 minutes, using example sentences from my textbook and then creating 5 new ones. Setting a specific learning goal and strategy. Example 3. Speaking practice. Before my language exchange, I'll brainstorm a few topics I want to discuss and some key vocabulary related to them to ensure I can contribute effectively. Planning for communicative interaction. B. Monitoring during a learning task. Continuously checking your understanding and progress, identifying difficulties, and adjusting strategies. Example 1. Reading. As I read this English novel, I notice I'm skipping over words I don't know without looking them up. I'm not really understanding the plot, so I need to slow down and use my dictionary more often, or switch to an easier book. Monitoring comprehension and adjusting strategy. Example 2. Speaking. During my conversation, I'm trying to use the past perfect, but I keep making mistakes. I'll make a mental note, or quickly jot it down after, to review this tense later. Monitoring accuracy and identifying areas for review. Example 3. Listening. I'm listening to this podcast and realizing I've lost the main idea. I'll rewind 30 seconds and focus more intently on the key phrases being used. Monitoring comprehension and re-engaging with the task. Non-evaluation after a learning task. Assessing the outcome of your learning, the effectiveness of your strategies, and planning for future learning. Example 1. Post-study. I spent an hour studying grammar, but I still feel confused about the passive voice. Maybe just reading the rules isn't enough. Next time, I'll try to do more practice exercises or watch a video explanation. Evaluating strategy effectiveness and planning future action. Example 2, post-speaking. My conversation went well, but I realized I repeatedly used very good instead of more varied adjectives. Next time, I'll try to incorporate words like excellent, fantastic, or impressive, evaluating performance and setting a new linguistic goal. Example 3, self-assessment. I took a practice test, and my listening score was much lower than my reading score. This tells me I need to devote more dedicated time to listening practice, perhaps with more challenging authentic materials, evaluating overall progress and adjusting learning focus. The current state, integrating metacognition in language pedagogy. In current language education, there's a growing recognition of the importance of metacognition. Many modern textbooks and curricula implicitly or explicitly encourage metacognitive practices. Learner training. Many programs now include components on learning how to learn, teaching students about different learning styles, effective strategies, and self-assessment techniques. Reflective journals. Learners are often encouraged to keep journals, where they record their learning experiences, challenges, and reflections on their progress. Strategy instruction. Explicit teaching of learning strategies, e.g., mind mapping for vocabulary, summarizing for reading. Active listening techniques is becoming more common. The self-correction. Prompts. Teachers use prompts like, "How did you get that answer?" or "What strategy did you use?" to encourage students to reflect on their thinking. Authentic tasks with self-assessment. Activities are designed to mimic real-world scenarios, followed by rubrics or checklists for learners to assess their own performance. However, challenges remain. Not all learners are naturally metacognitive, and some require explicit instruction and scaffolding to develop these skills. The time constraints in many classrooms also mean that deep metacognitive reflection is sometimes sacrificed for content delivery. Nevertheless, the trend is clear. Successful language learning in the 21st century increasingly emphasizes the learner's active role in understanding and managing their own cognitive processes. Impact and significance. Metacognition as the catalyst for language mastery. The impact of metacognition on English language usage, learning, and even one's broader academic and professional life is profound. It transcends simple memorization, transforming the learner into an active, strategic, and self-sufficient agent of their own progress. 1. Accelerated and more efficient learning. Perhaps the most direct impact of metacognition is on the efficiency and speed of learning. When learners are metacognitively aware, they optimize strategies. They don't just blindly follow methods. They choose the ones that work best for them and the specific task. This reduces wasted effort. For example, a learner realizes that repetitive grammar drills don't help them internalize rules. Instead, they switch to communicative practice, applying grammar in real conversation. Identify and address weaknesses. Faster, they don't linger on problems. They pinpoint exactly where they're struggling and why. If a learner consistently misunderstands conditional sentences, metacognition allows them to recognize this pattern, reflect on the specific difficulty, e.g., tense usage in clauses, and seek targeted resources. Improve retention. By actively monitoring comprehension and evaluating learning outcomes, learners consolidate information more effectively, leading to better long-term retention of vocabulary, grammar, and fluency patterns. 2. Enhanced self-correction and accuracy. Metacognition empowers learners to become their own internal editors and pronunciation coaches. This leads to a significant increase in accuracy and self-correction. During speaking, a metacognitively aware speaker might monitor their pronunciation or grammar in real time. Did that vowel sound correct? Should I have used the past perfect there? They might self-correct mid-sentence or make a mental note to review later. During writing, when writing an essay, a learner might pause, reread a paragraph, and think, is this paragraph clear? Does the sentence flow logically? Have I used appropriate linking words? They engage in a recursive process of drafting, monitoring, and revising. Bridging the output gap. Many learners can understand more than they can produce. Metacognition helps bridge this gap by encouraging learners to reflect on their output, identify discrepancies between their intended message and actual expression, and strategize for more accurate production. 3. Increased learner autonomy and motivation. A significant long-term impact of metacognition is the cultivation of learner autonomy. Learners become less reliant on teachers and textbooks, and more capable of directing their own learning journey. Intrinsic motivation: when learners see direct results from their strategic choices, it boosts their confidence and intrinsic motivation. They feel a sense of agency and control over their learning. Resilience to challenges. Language learning is full of plateaus and frustrations. Metacognitive learners are better equipped to navigate these challenges because they can reflect on why they're stuck, adjust their approach, and find alternative solutions rather than giving up. I'm not improving my speaking quickly enough. Perhaps I need more immersive practice, or maybe I should try shadowing. Lifelong learning. The skills developed through metacognition are transferable. Once you learn how to effectively learn English, you've also learned how to effectively learn anything. This fosters a mindset of continuous improvement and lifelong learning. 4. Deeper understanding of language as a system. Metacognition encourages a more analytical and systematic approach to language. Instead of seeing language as a collection of isolated facts, learners begin to understand it as an interconnected system. Pattern recognition. By reflecting on grammatical structures or vocabulary usage, learners become more attuned to patterns and exceptions in English, which aids in generalization and application. Nuance and context. Metacognition helps learners move beyond literal translation, encouraging them to consider the context, tone, and pragmatic implications of language use. Why did the speaker choose this phrasal verb over a single word? What does that imply about their relationship or the situation? 5. Impact on academic and professional success. For many English learners, the goal is not just conversational fluency, but also academic or professional success. Metacognition is a critical skill in these domains. Academic. In university settings, students need to effectively read complex texts, write coherent essays, and participate in discussions. Metacognitive strategies for note-taking, research, essay planning, and self-assessment are invaluable. Professional. In the workplace, communication is paramount. Professionals need to monitor their clarity when giving presentations, adapt their language for different audiences, and reflect on the effectiveness of their emails or reports. These are all metacognitive activities. Employers increasingly seek candidates who are self-aware, adaptable, and capable of independent problem-solving, all traits fostered by strong metacognitive skills. In essence, metacognition isn't just about learning English. It's about developing the cognitive architecture that underpins all effective learning. It shifts the learner from a passive recipient of information to an active architect of their own knowledge and skills, making it arguably the most significant factor in achieving truly native-like fluency and sustained linguistic growth. Comparisons and divergent perspectives, navigating the metacognitive landscape. While the benefits of metacognition are widely acknowledged, its implementation and understanding in language learning can invite different perspectives and comparisons with other learning theories. 1. Metacognition versus natural acquisition, Krashen's monitor model. One prominent divergent perspective stems from the work of Stephen Krashen, whose monitor model distinguishes between language acquisition, a subconscious process similar to how children learn their first language, and language learning, a conscious process of knowing grammar rules. Krashen posits that acquisition is primary and learning serves only as a monitor to edit output. Krashen's view: acquisition is largely unconscious and driven by comprehensible input. Explicit learning, including metacognitive strategies, plays a minimal role in initial fluency, primarily serving as a late-stage editor. Over-reliance on conscious monitoring. Metacognition can actually hinder fluency by slowing down production. Metacognitive perspective. While acknowledging the power of comprehensible input, the metacognitive view argues that conscious awareness and strategic reflection, i.e., metacognition, significantly enhance the acquisition process. It's not about stopping spontaneous speech to apply a rule, but about optimizing input. Metacognition helps learners identify which input is comprehensible and relevant to their current level and how to engage with it more effectively, e.g., active listening strategies, predicting content. Facilitating output practice. Metacognition helps learners plan and monitor their output practice, leading to more deliberate and effective skill refinement, which eventually becomes automatized. Error. Correction. Metacognitive. Awareness is crucial for noticing errors and consciously working to eliminate them, a process that Krashen's model minimizes in early stages. The modern consensus largely moves towards an integrated view. While subconscious acquisition is vital, metacognition acts as a powerful accelerant and director for that acquisition. It's about being smart about your input and output, rather than just waiting for language to soak in. 2. Metacognition and learning styles, VARK model, etc. The concept of learning styles, e.g., visual, auditory, kinesthetic, reading, writing, VARK, has been popular in education. The idea is that individuals learn best when instruction aligns with their preferred style. Learning styles view. If you're a visual learner, you should primarily use visual aids. If auditory, listen to podcasts, etc. This is a form of metacognitive knowledge, knowing your preference. Divergent perspective and metacognitive refinement. Research has increasingly shown that rigid adherence to learning styles is often ineffective. While individuals might prefer certain modes, adapting strategies to the task is more important than always sticking to a style. Metacognition refines this. A metacognitive learner doesn't just say, "I'm a visual learner." They say, "For vocabulary, I find visual flashcards with images helpful, visual. But for pronunciation, I need to listen repeatedly and record myself, auditory, kinesthetic. And for grammar, I need to read explanations and do exercises, reading, writing." This shows a more sophisticated, task-specific application of strategy knowledge rather than a blanket-style application. The metacognitive approach emphasizes that learning strategies are flexible tools, not fixed identities. Learners should experiment with various strategies and reflect on their effectiveness for different aspects of language. 3. Explicit versus implicit instruction of metacognition. There's a discussion about whether metacognitive skills should be taught explicitly, e.g., in dedicated learning-to-learn modules, or implicitly, e.g., by designing tasks that naturally encourage reflection. Explicit instruction. This involves directly teaching learners what metacognition is, its components, and specific strategies, e.g., today we're learning about self-monitoring and listening. Here's how to do it. This is particularly beneficial for younger learners, or those who don't naturally exhibit strong metacognitive skills. Implicit instruction. This involves designing learning activities that necessitate metacognitive engagement without explicitly naming it. For instance, a teacher might ask students to collaboratively solve a problem, then reflect on how they solved it, naturally prompting metacognitive thought. Consensus. Most educators agree that a combination of both explicit and implicit approaches is most effective. Explicit instruction provides the framework and tools, while implicit activities provide opportunities for practice and internalization in authentic contexts. For adult English learners, explicit understanding of metacognition often empowers them to take control of their learning more quickly. 4. The challenge of measuring metacognition. One of the challenges in metacognitive research and practice is its measurement. How do you quantify someone's thinking about thinking? Methods. Researchers use various methods. Self-report questionnaires, asking learners about their knowledge and use of strategies. Think aloud protocols, asking learners to vocalize their thoughts as they complete a task. Observation. Observing learners' behaviors, e.g., pausing, rereading, correcting themselves. Performance data. Correlating metacognitive reports with actual learning outcomes. Divergent view limitation. Self-reports can be unreliable. Learners might not accurately recall their thought processes or might give socially desirable answers. Think aloud protocols can interfere with the cognitive process itself. This highlights that while the concept is powerful, its scientific measurement can be complex. However, for the individual learner, the practice of metacognition is more important than its precise measurement. In summary, while the core concept of metacognition is widely accepted as beneficial, discussions often revolve around how it interacts with other learning theories, how it should be taught, and how it can be best leveraged to maximize learning outcomes in specific domains like English language acquisition. These comparisons highlight metacognition as a dynamic and evolving field within learning science. Future prospects and solutions. Your action plan for metacognitive. Mastery in English. The future of English language learning, particularly for those aiming for advanced proficiency, will increasingly hinge on the learner's ability to be metacognitively aware and strategic. This isn't just a trend. It's a fundamental shift towards empowering you to become the most effective learner possible. Here's your actionable advice, key takeaways, and a glimpse into the future. Key takeaway 1: Be your own learning detective. The future outlook. Learning is no longer a passive reception of information. It's an active investigation. Your brain is a powerful engine, and metacognition is the user manual. Actionable advice for English learners. Keep a learning journal. Dedicate a notebook or digital document to regularly reflect on your English learning. What did I study today? What was easy? What was difficult and why? Which strategies did I use? Were they effective? What new words or grammar points did I learn? How will I review them? What do I need to focus on next? What's my plan for tomorrow this week? Conduct mini experiments. Try different learning methods for a week or two, and then reflect on their effectiveness. Example: for vocabulary, I'll try flashcards this week. Next week, I'll try reading a novel and just looking up words in context. Then I'll compare which method helped me retain more words. Analyze your errors. Don't just correct mistakes. Understand why you made them. Is it a grammar rule you're fuzzy on? A pronunciation pattern? A vocabulary confusion? This diagnostic approach is deeply metacognitive. Key takeaway 2: Strategic practice trumps random exposure. The future outlook. With the abundance of English content available, YouTube, podcasts, Netflix, passive exposure is insufficient. The future demands strategic engagement. Actionable advice for English learners. Set specific, measurable goals for each session. Instead of, I'll study English, try, I will watch 15 minutes of this English TV show actively, pausing to write down 5 new idioms and practicing their pronunciation. Pre-plan your approach. Before diving into a task, think, what's the goal of this activity? E.g., improve listening comprehension, learn new business vocabulary. What strategies will I use? E.g., pre-reading questions, note-taking, shadowing. How will I know if I'm successful? E.g., can I summarize the main idea? Or can I use the new words in a sentence? Choose materials. Purposefully. Don't just consume any English content. Select materials that are slightly above your current level, zone of proximal development, and align with your learning goals. For example, if your goal is academic English, focus on TED Talks and academic articles, not just sitcoms. Key takeaway 3: Embrace monitoring and self-correction in real time. The future outlook. Technology will increasingly offer tools for real-time feedback, but your internal monitor is still your most powerful asset. Actionable advice for English learners. Active listening reading. Check-ins. Periodically pause while listening or reading and ask yourself, do I understand what's happening? What's the main idea? Am I missing anything crucial? Self-monitoring during speaking. As you speak, try to notice your own common errors, e.g., consistent misuse of a tense, difficulty with a specific sound. Don't interrupt the flow too much, but make a mental note to address it later. Record yourself. This is an incredibly powerful metacognitive tool. Record your speaking, presentations, conversations, even just reading aloud, and then listen back. You'll often identify errors or awkward phrasing you never noticed in the moment. Then utilize AI. Tools for feedback. Tools like Grammarly or AI-powered pronunciation apps can provide invaluable external feedback, which then fuels your internal metacognitive reflection. Why did the AI suggest that change? What rule did I miss? Key takeaway 4: Reflect, evaluate, and adapt. The future outlook. Learning is an iterative process. Stagnation occurs when reflection stops. Actionable advice for English learners. Post-task reflection. After every significant learning activity, a conversation, a writing assignment, a study session, take a few minutes to reflect. What went well? What was challenging? What could I do differently next time? Did I achieve my goal for this task? Why or why not? Regular progress reviews. Every month or quarter, review your learning journal. What patterns do you see? Are you making progress towards your long-term fluency goals? Are your current strategies still serving you? Be willing to adjust your entire learning plan if necessary. Celebrate small wins and learn from setbacks. Acknowledge your progress, no matter how small. When you encounter setbacks, don't view them as failures, but as valuable data points for metacognitive analysis. I'm still struggling with th sounds. What new approach can I try? The future of metacognition in English learning. The future will likely see even more integration of metacognitive principles into language learning technology. AI tutors will become more sophisticated in prompting learners to reflect on their choices. Personalized learning paths will be optimized by algorithms that track a learner's metacognitive processes. However, no technology can replace your own conscious effort to understand and direct your learning. Your brain is the most sophisticated learning machine known. By understanding and actively engaging your metacognitive abilities, you're not just learning English. You're developing a fundamental skill that will serve you in every aspect of your life. This journey requires self-awareness, intentionality, and continuous reflection. Conclusion: be the architect of your own English fluency. We've embarked on a deep dive into metacognition, uncovering its ancient philosophical roots, dissecting its core components of knowledge and regulation, and revealing its profound impact on your journey to mastering English. We've seen how thinking about your thinking empowers you to be a more efficient, accurate, and autonomous learner. Metacognition isn't a magic bullet that will instantly grant you native-like fluency. Instead, it's the blueprint and the master builder for your entire language learning house. It equips you with the self-awareness to understand your unique strengths and weaknesses, the strategic foresight to plan your attack, the vigilant eye to monitor your progress, and the wisdom to adapt when challenges arise. For too long, language learning has been presented as a passive absorption process, where success hinges solely on innate talent or sheer exposure. This article, and the very spirit of Unlock Your English, challenges that notion. We believe that you are an active agent in your learning, capable of steering your own ship through the vast ocean of the English language. By embracing metacognition, you transform from a mere student into a self-directed, strategic learner. You move beyond simply doing English exercises to truly understanding how you learn, how you make mistakes, and how you can most effectively achieve your goals. This shift in mindset and approach is what truly unlocks your potential. So, as you continue your incredible journey with English, remember the power you hold within your own mind. Don't just learn English, learn how you learn English. Reflect, plan, monitor, and evaluate. Be curious about your own cognitive processes. This deliberate, metacognitive approach will not only accelerate your progress, but also cultivate a lifelong love for learning, empowering you to achieve not just native-like fluency, but mastery in every sense of the word. Keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep unlocking your English.